So let me start by giving you a quick overview about Astute Business Solutions. Astute Business Solutions has been in business for the last 14 years, and we come from the application side of the Oracle umbrella of our large portfolio of applications and services. So ex-PeopleSoft, ex-KPMG, led with application consulting services on-prem, in hosted environments, in colo environments. But for the last 2+ years, our focus has entirely been in helping customers transform their businesses using Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And that's what we're going to talk to you about today. We are headquartered in Pleasanton, California. We have offices in the Midwest. We have sales and pre-sales and delivery people all over the United States. We have an office in Canada, in India as well. And then we are a Oracle Gold partner for applications, a Oracle Cloud Standard partner for OCI. Our industry experience covers multiple industries, but some of the ones that I'm going to highlight today are financial services, healthcare, education, professional services, insurance, industries nonprofit as well, industries where PeopleSoft has historically been very strong in the marketplace. Astute Business Solutions is a Oracle Velocity partner. For the customers in the audience today, Velocity is a program that allows you to accelerate your move to OCI, think of it that way, and there are some financial incentives that Oracle provides that you can take advantage of if you qualify to move your PeopleSoft application workloads to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. We also have some proprietary add-on solutions like our well-known Fast Test Automation product for PeopleSoft, which is available in the Oracle Cloud Marketplace as a solution for you to download and use. Some of our cloud services and solutions that I'd like to introduce to you today, starting with Cloud Advisory Services. For those customers who are still looking to define their overall cloud strategy and roadmap, and within that understand how to go about moving to cloud, why move to cloud, what are the key business objectives that you want to accomplish, how do you evaluate the various options that are in front of you, on-premise, hosting, colo, different cloud vendors, OCI, Azure, AWS, what is the right choice for you and why? We have an advisory service that gives you the ability to quickly arrive at those decisions and make the business case to your management so that you can get their buy-in and then proceed forward. Once you're at that stage, we have migration services that help you lift and shift these workloads to cloud infrastructure. Astute is exclusively working with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure as a partner, and we have experience in migrating PeopleSoft, EBS, OBI, EE workloads to OCI. We also have capabilities in Hyperion and also in moving non-Oracle application workloads. So you may have a custom application that's not running on the Oracle stack today, or you may have a custom application that's running with Oracle as a database engine today. We have experiences in moving those sorts of workloads to OCI as well. The implementation services on cloud can come in either before you migrate these application workloads like PeopleSoft to cloud or after. And some of the examples are using Oracle Integration Cloud and Process Cloud, implementing disaster recovery, using Oracle Management Cloud for systems management, using mobile cloud and chatbot features within that to develop mobile cloud solutions and chatbot applications for your backend applications. And finally, managed services. We provide SLA-based managed services for customers to maintain, manage, and support those infrastructure and application workloads once they're migrated to OCI. The PeopleSoft consulting services, so this goes back to our DNA of why PeopleSoft today and why we're talking about this particular topic. We have deep and rich experience in PeopleSoft applications, all the PeopleSoft applications that are available to you customers in the marketplace today. And it starts with helping customers upgrade. So whether you upgrade on-prem or OCI or on OCI, we have services that can cater to application upgrades, people tools upgrades, PUM updates, and so on. We've had great success in helping customers migrate to OCI. Some of those success stories you'll hear about in today's presentation. They are also on our website. Some of them are also available on cloud.oracle.com. And several of our customers are speaking at Open World next month about their journey to cloud and how they succeeded in that. So for those of you who are planning to come to Open World next month, that might be an excellent opportunity for you to network with these customers and speak to them one-on-one to understand how they did it and what they achieved by moving PeopleSoft to cloud. Implementations, a lot of customers on 9.2 are now looking to implement new modules like travel and expense and financials, or time and labor on the HR side, or absence management. And along with that, also take advantage of newer PUM capabilities, workflow, Fluid UI, Classic Plus, Elasticsearch, and so on. So we have all of those capabilities as well. Fluid implementation is top of mind for many customers. And lastly, but not the least, and one of the most important solutions that impacts customers in the way they maintain and operate PeopleSoft is testing. So we have a pre-built automated solution, which we call Fast Test, for functional regression testing of all PeopleSoft applications, whether they are on version 9.2 or older. This is the only Oracle validated integration tool for PeopleSoft test automation, and it uses PeopleSoft test framework behind the scenes as the record and playback engine. A little bit about our PeopleSoft lift and shift to OCI experience. I'm just sharing this with you so that you have a background on where Astute's coming from, why we are able to speak with confidence on some of these topics, and what our experience has been with OCI. So the most number of successful completed lift and shift projects to OCI across all applications. We have migrated HCM, financials, campus solutions, and portal, and EBS. Multiple disaster recovery projects completed, multiple POCs completed. Industry experience, as I was talking about earlier, and all of these are specifically of what we've done on OCI so far. Big focus on automation. I think one of the underlying themes of cloud, as we see it, when we help customers migrate to cloud, and even before that, when we help them decide why cloud is the right solution for them, automation is one of the key themes that comes out time and time again. So one of the things that we've focused on as part of our implementation methodology is to bring in as much automation as possible when we help customers migrate to cloud. So using tools like Terraform, CLI, Cloud Manager for PeopleSoft, automated monitoring solutions via OMC, Oracle Management Cloud, or OEM, and then combining all of those with lifecycle management solutions like Fast Test would make the testing of migration to cloud easier and faster. That's our overall goal here. And then Oracle and PeopleSoft DNA, so coming from the PeopleSoft company itself, working for PeopleSoft for many years, understanding the product from its origins to where it is today, and having a deep collaboration with Oracle product development and product strategy teams helps us keep up to date with what's new in PeopleSoft and also take that to market very quickly. Here are some of our examples of successful projects so far. There's many more, but this is just a quick snapshot. There's an education customer, a healthcare customer, a staffing industry customer, a retail business, and so on. We'll have more information available for you to consume later if needed. So now the most important aspect of today's presentation: why should you consider moving PeopleSoft to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure? And this is very specific, as you can see in the header slide here. We're not talking about why PeopleSoft to cloud. We're specifically talking about why PeopleSoft to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and why should you consider that? What are the benefits? What should you expect going into that solution, and how you can be successful in executing that solution. So let's talk about some business drivers in moving to cloud. I mean, every customer has their unique set of challenges, their unique combination of in-house infrastructure, maybe some outsourced services. Some of you may be hosted by a third party. Some of you may or may not have formal service level agreements internally within your teams. Some of you may or may not have the right kinds of security tools and models in place, but every customer is unique, right? Now, but the drivers to cloud are similar across most customers for the following reasons. One is obsolescence. So all of those customers who are currently operating either on-prem within their own data centers, or even in a hosting or colo facility, whatever you signed up for, whatever you implemented when you implemented PeopleSoft, you are pretty much stuck with that hardware solution until you decide when to refresh your hardware and get the next best hardware that's available to you. So as a result, many of you have aging infrastructure. You have obviously high upfront capital investments in hardware. You have to maintain and support those assets. So you'll have some vendor maintenance contracts, you'll have in-house IT teams, all of those overheads associated with that. And then, the life cycle of maintaining those on-prem solutions becomes burdensome and also costly for a lot of customers. The second thing is agility. Customers always talk to us about how it takes a long time for them to do some basic tasks, provisioning a new VM, getting the database installed on it, installing PeopleSoft, getting the latest PUM image installed and released to users as soon as it is available at the quarterly release cycle that Oracle has put together, staying current with PeopleSoft updates, with database upgrades, and so on. All of these are challenges that we hear from customers, and as a result, this has become a key business driver also. Customers are looking for cloud as a way to solve these problems and give them the agility that they've always sought. Vulnerability, security threats. We hear about this in the news all the time. Every day there's something in the news about some breach, and most of us know that the breaches don't always have to be external. There can be internal threats as well. I often survey customers when I go to conferences or do some small workshops with smaller groups of customers. And one of the first things that I like to ask customers is, how many of you have your current Oracle database encrypted? Very few hands go up in response to that question. And that's always surprising to me. In this day and age, knowing that security and encryption is very important, the majority of PeopleSoft customers today do not have databases encrypted, whether that's data at rest or in motion. As a result, you are opening the door for some security threats, violations, and in addition to all that, there's obviously business level compliance. So GDPR is the top of mind agenda for a lot of international businesses that operate in the US and in international countries. Healthcare companies have HIPAA to deal with. Customers managing financial transactions and including customer and vendor transactions at PCI DSS. So security is always a very important aspect and a key business driver. And then the last one, of course, is cost. I mean, cost, I put that in the end not because it is not prioritized or not important, but this happens to be a baseline across all other criteria. Customers are always looking to reduce costs. IT budgets are not really going up year on year. CIOs surveyed are telling us that they're being asked to do more with less and so on. At the same time, you still have to keep up with business demands. There's new applications, there's new features that they want. You cannot say no to that. So the bottom line is that customers truly want to get out of the data center business. Whether you ask the CIO's organization or you speak to the stakeholders on the HR side or the finance side, they do not believe that they should be in the business of managing hardware and software. They all want to focus on their core business, whether it is staffing or providing insurance services or healthcare, and leave the commoditized data center management, infrastructure management, and app management services to experts who can do it better than in-house teams. So some of the advantages. So now that we've explained what some of the key business drivers are, let's talk about how you can benefit by moving PeopleSoft to cloud, assuming that you are able to successfully convince your management that these business drivers are valid and these are important to tackle today and not defer to a later time. The first thing is speed of deployment. So we spoke about agility. Speed of deployment, when you look at it from a tactical standpoint for PeopleSoft, what's important for customers is that they want to be able to provision PeopleSoft applications as automatically as they can. Customers have challenges when they work with checklists and they go through manual processes. Those are error prone, they're time consuming, and there are always competing priorities. So your PS admin or your systems administrator and your DBA are not just sitting around waiting for an instruction to deploy a new instance. They're doing 10 or 20 different things, and oftentimes instance deployment does not get prioritized. What you should be getting on cloud, which you can get today and which has been available for a while now, is true one-click provisioning of an entire PeopleSoft stack. And the reason I'm saying, not just saying PeopleSoft instance, but the entire stack is, as we all know, PeopleSoft requires a database, it requires a middle tier for application server, a web tier, a process scheduler, a Windows server, and a search instance and things like that, you have the ability on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure today with tools like Terraform and Cloud Manager to really push a button or send over a script and have that entirely built, not just vanilla instances, but even instances that are customized to your footprint, your database copies, your application code. Those can truly be automated, and you can push buttons on a console and have those instances deployed. Huge benefit for customers. I have seen customers who are fairly sophisticated in-house where they can bring up a stack like this in 24 hours, but the majority of customers I've spoken to, for them it takes anywhere from a week to 6 weeks to get all of this deployed. The larger the institution or organization, the more complex the internal processes. PeopleSoft Upgrade. So why do you need upgrade automation? You need that because if you're on 9.2, you're dealing with selective adoption, however you're dealing with it today. You have to stay current with PUM updates, with People Tools patches. 8.57 just came out on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I'm sure many of you want to get your hands on it. How are you going to do that? You can actually do that completely automatically on cloud. If you had a PeopleSoft instance running on 8.55 or 8.56 on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure today using Cloud Manager, you can point to that instance and say, upgrade tools to 8.57. It's as simple as that. All of the automation behind the scenes for taking that instance, applying the change of system templates, applying all the upgrade tasks is taken care of for you, and a new instance is brought up. So the power of automation is certainly available to you on cloud, not on-prem, not in a hosted environment. Similarly, at the database level, if you use Oracle Database Cloud Service, database patching is automated. The patch is presented to you for the instance, and you can click on it, apply it. It applies it automatically, and it saves you time and makes it more consistent. So now imagine if you have to do that across 10, 20, 100 database instances, PeopleSoft and non-PeopleSoft Oracle databases. DBaaS gives you the capability to automate that. Operational costs. Everybody wants to reduce cost and do more with less, as I was saying earlier. You don't have to have any upfront investment in hardware. So you get away from all of that high upfront capital cost investment on-prem, all the maintenance for the hardware and software that comes along with that, and instead you go to a subscription-based model. You truly pay only for what you consume. You can control when you want to run an instance, which means that if it's not running, you're not going to pay for it. If it's running, you're going to pay for it. So you can get very granular with how much you want to spend and when. Higher performance. Again, this is because Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is running on the Oracle engineered system stack. So you have high performant hardware. You have the ability to go to virtual machine technology. If you want dedicated instances, no noisy neighbors, you can go to bare metal. You have dense I/O for higher performance, and you still have the ability to scale further up if you want to go into Exadata and other high capacity, high performance options. But bottom line, how does that affect PeopleSoft? Let's say you want to scale up your infrastructure to meet your monthly payroll or weekly payroll or biweekly payroll, or you're running large batch windows for which you need additional capacity. You can manage that very proactively on cloud and dedicate performance to the areas where you really need performance, and as a result, improve your overall application. Security, again, is paramount. It's very important for customers. One of the things that some of you may be thinking about while I'm presenting this is, hey, is cloud really secure? When it's running in-house, I control security. I can give access to the people that I want to have access to my data and restrict others. The bottom line is cloud is as secure, and I can tell you from my experience that it is more secure than what you have on-prem in most cases. And the reason why I'm saying that is, as I was saying, database encryption was an example that I called out earlier. As you move to cloud, you have the ability to automatically deploy TDE or transparent database encryption using Oracle Database Cloud Service. That now encrypts your data at rest and also encrypts all of your database backups. The entire security for anything that you deploy on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, from the network layer on up all the way to the application layer, is still under the customer's control. You are not relinquishing control. You still have control. But you're taking advantage of the fact that now Oracle's investing in a number of audits, SOC, PCI, HIPAA, ISO, and so on. and routinely verifying that its infrastructure and data centers are compliant with that. That takes the overhead away from you, and you just utilize those services instead. Right? So those are the advantages. Now, one thing that I want to point out is there are many clouds that you can use. There's obviously AWS, which is the market leader. Azure's catching up really fast. Google's a player. There are some smaller players as well. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is purpose-built to run Oracle PeopleSoft applications. And what I mean by that is you have automation at the infrastructure level, at the platform level, in this case database for PeopleSoft, and at the application level. We have tools like Cloud Manager, and that combination is not available for you on AWS or Azure or any other cloud provider. Needless to say, you're not going to get those capabilities on-prem or in a hosted environment. So the fact that it is purpose-built, Oracle not only has the cloud infrastructure team, but also the PeopleSoft application team. There's a lot of collaboration behind the scenes to make sure that these workloads move efficiently to cloud infrastructure, to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and run efficiently and can take advantage of all the automation capabilities that are available for customers. Here are some common use cases for cloud. I mean, there's so many things that you do with PeopleSoft applications today. It's not just restricted to a few things, but these are the things that we've found to be the most common use cases for PeopleSoft on OCI. PeopleSoft DR on OCI. The reason I put this up first as opposed to second or third is primarily because this is a non-disruptive solution, i.e. you don't have to shut down production, move it, make any changes to it in order to turn on DR on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. It's very easy to set up, very easy to procure, and compared to what many customers have on-prem, where if you have a standby instance and a secondary data center, most likely it's a mirrored copy of your production stack, which means that you're paying for a full production copy of the full PeopleSoft stack, whether you're using it or not. The second challenge that we find with customers running on-prem DR is they're telling us they have DR, they've deployed it a while back, but they don't have an effective way to test it because testing DR is very challenging. Cloud gives you the ability to streamline both of those. You can start with a very small footprint for your standby instance. Setting up DR itself is almost automated within the cloud infrastructure itself at the database level. And once that's up and running, it's easy for you to test it and scale the workload up to full production capacity in the event a disaster takes place, right? So all of that can be simulated and tested very easily. Second thing, selective adoption. So selective adoption to many customers means many different things. For some of you, it is applying PUM updates. For some of you, it is PUM updates and patches and fixes. For many of you, it's that and also deploying new features. But regardless, you need access to the latest People Tools capabilities, the latest PUM images, the ability to spin up multiple dev test instances to try out some features, to prototype new solutions. And cloud gives you the ability to do that faster, cheaper, and better than any other competitive solution, whether you compare it with on-prem or hosting or OCI versus other cloud providers. So then upgrade. So whether you're doing a get current update, for those of you who are on 9.2, you may be looking at a People Tools upgrade in the next 12 to 18 months with 8.5.7, or you may be looking at, you may have gone live on, say, PUM 12 or 16 or something like that, and you've not applied PUM images since then. So now you're looking at a get current project where you can get caught up with the latest PUM images, not just for fixes, but new features and everything. Those tend to become mini quote-unquote projects themselves, but cloud has a way to accelerate that. You can deploy faster, you can test faster, and you can tear down and rebuild as per your project needs without having to maintain a massive infrastructure footprint for the entire project. If you wanted to do performance testing, it's easy to take a copy of your production system and spin up a production copy on cloud and give it additional horsepower to simulate 1,000 concurrent users or large batch workloads, which when you compare that with on-prem, it's very difficult to do. Either you have to go procure hardware for that and set it up and build it out, or you may not be able to do that at all. So cloud gives you the ability to quickly spin up and scale up the capacity and performance of those load testing or stress testing instances, and then you can tear them down or terminate them once you're done with your test cycles. So Moving forward, so we thought the best way to explain to you how a customer can be successful in lifting and shifting PeopleSoft to OCI would be by taking an example of a customer that has recently done it and by walking you through the various phases that they went through as they progressed in their journey to cloud. Rather than preaching methodology or best practices or giving you tips and techniques, it's best learned when you hear that, hey, here's a customer who's like us or similar to us and who's moved these workloads to cloud. Why not understand how they did it? And this customer, by the way, is also going to be at Open World and at some of our upcoming events, so you'll have an opportunity to talk to them and find out more about their journey to cloud. So here was their scope. So a large professional services company moved PeopleSoft and some non-Oracle workloads to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and their goals were to reduce costs, improve performance, and improve security. What did they move? PeopleSoft HCM and FSCM 9.2 on PeopleTools 855.25. Disaster recovery for both production applications using Oracle Data Guard and RAC. Golden Gate, which is a tool that they use for replicating PeopleSoft to a data warehouse. STAT that they use for PeopleSoft change control and migration. And then OEM, Oracle Enterprise Manager, for monitoring. So all of these were on-prem solutions that were in scope for migration to cloud. The timeline was as follows. Within the overall migration timeline, the first 2 weeks were to just prove that their use cases would be successful on cloud. So rather than just starting to deploy everything at once, they wanted to take a phased approach, saying, first, let's put demo and dev out there, make sure everything's working fine, prove the underlying architecture, and then let's move all of our other non-production instances to cloud. Once that is stable and it's integrated and tested, then let's go through the production migration and UAT, et cetera. And then parallel with production, once production goes live, set up DR and go live with DR as well. The solution at a high level was to completely automate OCI deployment, and we did that using Terraform. Automate the lift and shift of PeopleSoft instances to OCI. We did that using Cloud Manager. And use the migration to cloud as an opportunity to right-size their architecture, improve certain aspects of their architecture for performance and security and scalability, and go live with that target architecture in mind. So here's how they approached it. So there was a multi-phase process here. They first defined their business needs, and this is important, right? It's important to start with a definition of what you as a customer are trying to accomplish when you move to cloud. Is it just cost reduction? Is it cost plus performance? Is it agility? Is it improved security? All of the above. But it's important to define what your core business objectives are, and more importantly, get stakeholder buy-in saying, here's what we're setting out to accomplish. So that's important. The next step is to assess. So once you've defined your objectives, assess not just your current state, but what does your future state have to look like? What are some of the elements that we're missing today that are a must-have when we go to cloud? And then based on that, how do we narrow down our choices on who the cloud providers are, whether in-house is still an option or not? Some of you may want to consider that, right? We're not saying that in-house solutions are dead. It's just that cloud is a lot more efficient, as you will see when we progress through this presentation. Evaluating is important, so identifying your criteria for evaluation, whether it is a performance benchmark, it's a cost-saving metric, or a particular service level that you're trying to hit, or certain security certifications and compliance certifications that you want to have in your future state solution, that is important. So this customer made a detailed list of those criteria and set about evaluating those options that they had in front of them. Once you evaluate, you select the best fit solution, you define what your target architecture looks like, you select the cloud provider and a vendor who can help you implement this. In this case, they chose Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and Astute Business Solutions as their partner, and then execute the deal. There's a process to go through, procurement, legal, everybody gets involved. You all know how that works. But it's important to make sure that you have the right contracts in place and the right service agreements in place. Once you're past that stage, obviously you start implementing. And implementation starts with setting the right expectations, having a clearly defined statement of work, and having detailed plans for the project, for testing, for change management, and risk mitigation that ensures that you'll be successful as you lift and shift these application workloads to cloud. And then last but not least, for this customer, measuring the outcome was important. It's one thing to put an outcome on paper and say, yes, by moving to cloud, you will have X percentage in TCO benefits or a certain performance SLAs and so on, but it is important to measure and report. So how do you baseline against your current state, measure the equivalent on OCI, and then prove to your business leaders that, hey, we did make the right decision, and here's how we're succeeding in our stated objectives. So here were some of the key business drivers for this particular customer. The very first one was they wanted to get out of the data center business. As I shared with you in my original previous section on what are some of the business drivers to move to cloud, CIOs and CFOs and COOs are largely of the belief that they don't want to be in the data center business. If you're a staffing company or a healthcare company or a financial services company or a nonprofit, your business is not data center management. It's not hardware and software management. It is focusing on whatever your core business is. So that was important. And as part of that, they also wanted to be agile. This customer particularly found that their in-house IT services were not as agile as they'd like them to be. So getting out of the data center was key. Reducing operational costs was important. Obviously, cost benefits are important whenever you move PeopleSoft, whether you're doing that to another location or to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Cost is an important criteria. Eliminating wasteful spend, and this means a lot of times you talk to customers who have instances just lying around. Hey, we created that for a project. We never bothered to shut it down. What you don't realize is that that is consuming resources, and it does take some effort to maintain and manage that and patch it. Otherwise, there's a security threat. And more importantly, there may be transactional data lying around in those instances, and people may have access to it when you don't want them to have access to it. So optimizing, reducing cost, and being more cost efficient was a very important business criteria. And the customer wanted granular cost controls, which meant that they just didn't want to put a block of money for infrastructure and say, here's what we're going to spend over the next 3 years. They wanted granularity, saying on a month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter, year-to-year basis, my needs change as an organization, as my business needs change, and I need to be able to have some flexibility in my infrastructure cost management. So that was one. Transform support services via MSP, the third objective for them. They have a strong in-house PeopleSoft application support team and development team, but they did not have any service level agreement-based services. So they wanted to focus their core team on architecture and design elements and leave application support, PS admin, database support and management, patching, help desk, and all of these to a managed services partner, in this case, Astute. So that was their core reason there. And then a disaster recovery. So the customer had a failure in their data center Halon, and that was a wake-up call. So they used that as one of their core business drivers to say, we should not be dealing with these kinds of disasters or events. We should rather be focusing on taking advantage of cloud providers like OCI who manage that on the back end for us, and we just subscribe to a service. So having a reliable and cost-effective DR solution and being able to test it was really critical. So we did some SWOT analysis, right? And you can do this or we can help you do this, but this basically helps you understand where things stand and what your ways are or options are for moving forward. So identifying what is your core strength. So the customer had a stable PeopleSoft application. There's nothing wrong with it. It was running reasonably well, I would say. They had the odd performance issue here and there, which many customers have. It's not surprising. They had a strong in-house talent, as I just mentioned, both from a PeopleSoft development standpoint, functional analysts, and support standpoint. But some of their challenges, when you look at weaknesses, were, like I said, the Halon failure in the data center, lack of automation and standardization, so different instances being built differently, or checklists not being followed very meticulously, and then no defined SLA, which often happens when you have internal teams working on it. They're just juggling multiple priorities, but they are not accountable from an SLA standpoint. So those were some of the things. And then the threats that they were encountering or looking out for was, one, data encryption and data masking, and aging on-prem hardware, which potentially could fail or could cause outages that they didn't want to be concerned about. The opportunities for them, given where they were, was take advantage of cloud to both improve performance and security, but also right-size the architecture, and then build some speed, agility, and higher performance into the solution. At the bottom, you see we've called out on-premise, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and Microsoft Azure. So this particular customer wanted to compare those options. It was not a 5-way or 10-way comparison, which is, I think, a good way to go. You don't want to compare everything that's out there, because then that itself becomes a massive initiative and will never get done. Most customers pretty much know where they want to go, or at least what are the top 2 or 3 options that they want to evaluate before making a decision. So in this case, these are the options. We also shared with them some information that Oracle had put together. The OCI product management team publishes information like this on how you do a cost comparison between Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and Azure in this case for this customer, but also includes comparisons for AWS and Google Cloud. And as you can see by the number of greens in there in that tabular format, that OCI gives you significant advantages in all categories except one there. Then there are some performance metrics that we were able to share with them on storage performance and on running on bare metal, etc., for an Oracle database workload, which is what more than 70% or 80% of PeopleSoft customers are running PeopleSoft on Oracle database. So this was very relevant. Then we spoke about evaluation criteria. So what is it that the customer was specifically looking to evaluate, and how are they going to make a decision on what is the right solution for them? So from a cost perspective, they had a target that they wanted to reduce operating cost by $1 million USD per year. And this included not just PeopleSoft application support, but hardware, software, maintenance dollars, people costs, and all of that included. They wanted to hit that number. They wanted to really be innovative. They wanted to be automated. They wanted to be standardized. And they wanted to develop speed and agility in their organization. So having access to one-click deployment was really a critical factor. They had seen and heard about Oracle Cloud Manager and some OCI automation tooling, but this was where they really evaluated those kinds of things and used that in their decision-making process. Service delivery. So having access to a managed service provider that could commit to service levels, not just for system uptime, but response times to tickets, whether it was an enhancement ticket or a performance-related bug or access-related one. So they wanted to have formal SLAs. So now they went from not having formal SLAs to a 15-minute response time on P1s, a maximum of 4 hours for a full resolution on a P1, and so on. So much better responses and overall predictable support services. Now, added to this was the advantage that OCI gives you customers several performance SLAs on infrastructure as a service. These are very well documented on Oracle Cloud website, and I can point that to you if any of you have a question later on or after the webinar today. So those are the advantages that you have, which is fairly unique compared to what you get with AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, where you don't have those hard performance SLAs that the cloud infrastructure provider can give you. All right. So how did they go about selecting? So they used all of this evaluation criteria. Obviously, I'm not sharing all the details with you on how they evaluated everything at the PeopleSoft layer, database layer, infrastructure layer, and so on. But we went through all of those motions with the customer, and then they arrived at this. They selected OCI as their best fit, selected Astute as their implementation partner. They actually went out to RFP to about 5 or 6 vendors and selected us. And then they executed contracts with OCI and Astute, and then they worked on a detailed migration plan and support plan. So I'm walking you through that journey of how they defined their objectives, assessed their current state, defined their future state, evaluated their options, made a selection, and then they decided how to implement it. So in this case, we had recommended a two-phased approach to the customer, and the total scope, as you may remember from one of the previous slides, was to migrate PeopleSoft application workloads, migrate Golden Gate, deploy OEM on OCI, migrate STAT, So it was Oracle and non-Oracle workloads. In phase one, we moved all of their non-production environments. In phase two, we moved all of their production environments. Very well-defined project plan, knowing exactly what roles and responsibilities the customer and Astute had to play, and also having very well-defined milestones along the way. So this just gives you a very high-level preview of what that implementation journey looks like, weeks 1 to 2, weeks 3 to 8, weeks 9 to 16. And keep in mind, in 16 weeks, we are migrating 2 PeopleSoft production applications with all the non-production instances included. We are migrating non-production, non-Oracle workloads like STAT. We're setting up Golden Gate for replication, DataGuard for DR, OEM for monitoring. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. This was an aggressive timeline, but this can be achieved as long as there is clear definitions of scope and understanding of who's doing what and what commitments that the customer and Astute have to maintain throughout that project. And then here are some outcomes that the customer is able to measure, right? So they are able to demonstrate that they're well on that path to showing that at the end of year one, they'll have reduced their operating costs by $1 million USD. They have already proven that it's much easier to deploy a PeopleSoft instance and over 90% reduction in time. Then in addition to that, they have the ability to automatically stop and start instances. This is something that we built for them because they didn't want to consume OCI credits for non-production instances when they were not using them. So we put together a schedule and we're implementing that for them. And then performance. So there are mission critical processes for this customer. So for those of you in the staffing industry, pay bill is one of your biggest set of processes that you run in PeopleSoft that encompasses FSCM and HCM. So this customer does a weekly run of that, and they cannot afford to have any performance-related issues or bottlenecks. So moving that to OCI and getting deployed on the latest hardware capabilities that are underneath that power OCI, whether you're running virtual machines or bare metal instances, that was a big boost for the customer, and they are seeing some returns on performance as well. So hopefully that was helpful. I just walked you through the process of how this large professional services company defined and executed their strategy to move to cloud. I want to leave you with a few examples of how you can get started with OCI. So build your cloud strategy first. Does not have to be very elaborate or time-consuming, but at least make sure you have your core business objectives defined, you know what to evaluate, and how to go about evaluating that. So the how part of it is in conducting a POC or a proof of concept or a P2P, a pilot to production. A pilot to production is slightly different from a proof of concept in the sense that you've gone through the process of evaluating on paper whether OCI is the right solution for you or not, and then you're using the pilot as a way to prove out the use cases that you want to prove, and you continue the same tendency and start migrating your production workloads. Simplifies your migration to cloud and gives you the ability to reuse anything that you deploy in the initial pilot stage as opposed to having to throw it away, which you would end up doing in a POC style engagement. So here are some ways to get started with building a cloud strategy and roadmap. We like to come in and conduct workshops with business and IT stakeholders, understand your current state, understand your pain points, and define your business objectives, and then use all of that to start defining what your journey to cloud would look like. And then evaluate the options that are important to you, right? So you may not have a need to compare AWS or Azure, or you may want to compare with an alternative data center capability that you have in-house compared to where PeopleSoft is running today. Or you may be running in a hosted environment, and you may want to compare hosting versus OCI. So whatever your evaluation criteria are, your options are, the cloud strategy workshops and advisory services help you compare all of those and give you the right set of data points and recommendations to make a final decision. Conducting a POC is quite simple. We do that in 2 to 3 weeks from start to finish. Again, very well-defined use cases for PeopleSoft, and we've defined these based on both our on-prem experience and our cloud experience. And there's a certain cadence that 9-2 customers have. There's a certain number of projects that they do with PUM, with tools, upgrades, with maintenance, patches and fixes, payroll tax updates, and so on. So there are many of these things that you can prove out fairly easily on OCI, and this is how we do it. So 3 simple stages: identify the use cases, identify your expected outcomes. That second part is really important, identifying expected outcomes. Don't just go into a POC and say, yeah, let me just spin up an instance and see what happens. You want to have some sort of a baseline to compare that against. That way you can go back and build the business case to say, to deploy an instance on-prem, it takes me these many days or these many weeks. To deploy it on cloud with Cloud Manager takes me these many minutes or these many hours. You want to be able to compare some hard numbers and then use those comparisons at the end of the POC to make a decision on how to move forward. Here's a little more detailed example of what we do on the POC timeline. If you have multiple applications and multiple use cases for each, then you may want to do a 4-week POC, but in general it can be shorter than that. There's a lot of content in here. I don't expect you to read all of that, but this is just information for you in case you want more details later on. Here's some upcoming events that you can look forward to. So we're doing a couple of road shows, one in New York and one in Boston. So the Boston one is on October 10th. The New York one is on October 12th. The focus of this is entirely on how to help customers move PeopleSoft application workloads to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. There'll be a customer speaker in New York. There'll be some speakers from Oracle and the PeopleSoft product strategy team. We're putting all of that together. There'll be some speakers from Astute who will be sharing some customer success stories with you. And then for those of you who are coming to Open World, we have many of our customers who have successfully moved PeopleSoft to OCI who are presenting their cloud journey. So they'll be available for you to meet and talk to so that you can understand from their perspective why they went that route and how they were successful. So with that, I'll conclude. And there's more information on our website, on YouTube, on social media, etc. But if you have any questions now, I'd like to take them. So let me go to chat and see if any of you have questions. So the first question I have is, have you done a lift and shift of an older PeopleSoft instance from Oracle OMCS or ACS to OCI? So the answer is yes. As a matter of fact, one of the customers that is going to be presenting at Open World, we migrated them from OMCS specifically on version 9.1, and then we upgraded that migrated instance to 9.2, to the latest People Tools release, and then we went live with that latest release on OCI. So the migration tools and methodology varies a little bit when you look at something that's not on 9.2 and not on Tools 855.12, which is the minimum requirement for Cloud Manager. But other than that, we have done older releases, and we have been successful in migrating those to cloud. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of customers that we're working with now who are on 9.1 who are interested in doing the same, and they're going to be starting these projects very soon. Question from another person: does Cloud Manager lift and shift the database only, or is it also the web and app tier and their configuration? So great question. Cloud Manager for PeopleSoft lifts your entire PeopleSoft stack and helps you move that to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. It moves both the database and the app web middle tier. It packages up your PS home files and things like that, everything that you need to bring over all of your configurations and batch files and things like that. So your database, as you know, in PeopleSoft contains all of your code, configuration, and transactional data. So all the metadata comes along with that, along with the transactional data when you migrate the database. But there is a lift package for your middle tier and other components as well. So it is very comprehensive, and it takes care of all of that. Basically, it creates 2 lift packages that you run scripts on-prem. It creates a package for your database and creates a package for all of your other PeopleSoft components, moves all that to cloud infrastructure, and then Cloud Manager automates the deployment of that. Next question: how do you design? Let me scroll up here. I missed this one question. How do you design tools and access to databases? So it's not very different than how you would design access to database on-prem, in the sense that you have complete control as a customer over network security, over VM security. So you can decide who can SSH into the database, who has console access. You can implement IAM policies online to say only this person can view or manage or administer. So all of that is controlled through policies, and in many ways it's more secure, more auditable when you do it on OCI. Customers will usually have multiple connectivity options, fast connect for high bandwidth, MPLS type connectivity from your data center to OCI, and also VPN, secure VPN services. So you can tunnel in from your private corporate network into your cloud network, which can also be private or public, depending on how you want to architect it. And then from there, you can grant access to people who want to access the database. Can we run PeopleSoft 9.1 on Oracle Cloud? Absolutely. PeopleSoft 9.1 and older PeopleTools releases like 8.5.2, 8.5.3 are supported. You can run them on a combination of infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. If you do move 9.1 to cloud, from our experience that I was just stating earlier of how we migrated a customer from OMCS to OCI, our experience was that upgrading 9.1 to 9.2 was faster, cheaper, and more time efficient and resource efficient as compared to doing it on-prem. The customer was able to accomplish all of that, the migration and the upgrade, in less than 6 months. Next question. Thank you, by the way, for staying on. I know we're almost getting over the limit here, but thank you for staying on and for providing these questions. With Enterprise Edition Extreme Performance, what is the HADR solution, DataGuard, Golden Gate, streams, etc.? So DataGuard is the most obvious one and the easiest one to implement. If you are currently licensing Golden Gate on-prem and would like to use Golden Gate for replication as a solution for your DR, you can do that as well. So there are multiple options available to you. If you're talking about data streaming services as part of the data integration cloud services on OCI, that's something that can be considered as well. We have opportunities or projects underway where we're migrating on-prem Golden Gate to Golden Gate Cloud Service, and those are definitely things that can help you increase your footprint on cloud and take advantages of those solutions. The next question is HA and DR mutually exclusive? So it depends on how you look at it. So DR is DR, right? You have a standby instance, your database is replicating, you've created your PeopleSoft app web stack, and it's ready to go in the event of a disaster. High availability is built into the core OCI infrastructure offering. So you have fault-tolerant domains, you have availability domains, multiple regions. You can design your PeopleSoft application to be redundant and highly available, and you can have multiple app servers, web servers, you can have rack for your database, and on the front end, you can have load balancers that can bring all of that together and secure it. So you can do that. Is there anything saved in license costs? Yes. It depends on what your current license structure is. I would strongly recommend that you work with your OCI platform or infrastructure rep to review your current license cost structure for database and application. As many of you may know, I didn't touch upon what your options are for licensing Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Services, but one of the options is BYOL, bring your own license. The other option is not to carry forward your current license, but to terminate that on-prem license and maintenance contract or whatever life is left in there, use that up and then terminate it, and instead go to license-included services for database. So there may be, again, more granular cost controls if you want to manage when databases are up and running and when they're not, and you can just pay for what you use. But there's definitely options there, and it's worth investigating with Astute and with your Oracle rep. Have you had PeopleSoft users move to Oracle Fusion or another Oracle Financials product more modern than PeopleSoft? Yes, there are many customers who are moving to Oracle ERP Cloud, which is what Fusion is called now. We are firmly of the belief that long-term strategy-wise, customers are going to move to SaaS. And Oracle ERP Cloud, as far as we know, is by far the leader in that category. In fact, I saw from some recent press releases that Oracle is also winning over some Workday customers who've had implementations go south on them. That's always an option. What we find, though, with the PeopleSoft install base is with over 75% of the install base having upgraded to 9.2 and continuing to expand their use of PeopleSoft, they are not quite ready to get rid of all of those investments and work on a complete re-implementation, which is what Cloud ERP is going to be. So in the short term, which may be 3 to 5 years, let's say, customers have the opportunity to use cloud infrastructure to significantly reduce their total cost of ownership, while at the same time getting better security and higher performance. What OCI does is it sets the stage for you to later on be successful if you want to migrate to SaaS. So think about using tools like Cloud Integration, Oracle Cloud Integration Cloud to streamline and standardize all of your integrations into a cloud layer. That will make your eventual migration to any SaaS-based application that Oracle offers a much easier proposition. Question, can you buy licenses from Astute? Is Astute a reseller? Astute is a reseller for all Oracle products and technologies, including Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So if you're interested in having a conversation on whether we could resell cloud infrastructure to you, happy to have the conversation. Please get in touch with us. Well, it's at the top of the hour. I started 3 minutes past 11. It's almost 3 minutes past noon. Very excited about the interactive conversations here that I'm having with all of you. I hope you found today's webinar informative. I hope there was something that you could take away from this to share with others in your organization. If you'd like to have more detailed discussions on this, either with us directly or with us and your Oracle representatives, please feel free to reach out. If you reach out to Astute, we'll get in touch with the Oracle teams and involve them. What you'll find is that with cloud, everybody is being very responsive. You get answers very quickly. There's complete transparency in the solution, and you basically pay for what you see, what you get, right? So there's a lot of advantages there compared to how you might have dealt with licenses and maintenance contracts in the past. So definitely encourage all of you to take that next step and at least evaluate it, do a POC, do a pilot, and see what you get. There are many use cases that can be proven, and the benefits are very tangible. For those of you who are looking to get in touch with Astute Business Solutions, you can go to www.beastute.com. Let me put that in here in the chat, and I'll send out a follow-up email as well containing our contact numbers. You can call us at 925-924-1400. That's our main line, and my number is 925-924-1403. So you can reach me at this number, and either I can help you or I can put you in touch with somebody in my team who can assist you with whatever needs you have. Again, just to recap, October 10th in Boston at the Oracle office is actually in Burlington, Massachusetts. October 12th in New York City at 120 Park Avenue. And the last week of October, 21st to 24th at Open World. Astute will be there. Many of our customers will be there. We'll be happy to meet you and talk to you about your personal journeys to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Thank you again for attending. It was a pleasure having you all. Thank you for Oracle and the OPN team and the Channels and Alliances team for helping us put the event together and for supporting us in getting the registration form and people registered and the event advertised. Sincerely appreciate that. Looking forward to doing many more of these and sharing more of our experiences with all of you. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.